Say hello to the brand new VW ID7. This is their brand new fastback design, and it's got some very cool features. First of all, there is a German amount of mileage it can do on a single charge, and I've done some high school math. It should get somewhere around 340 miles on a single charge. That's out of one of two batteries. And it has seats that will dry you. Plus, instead of the traditional gauge cluster, it has augmented reality heads-up display. So let's find out more about the vehicle. Now, to get a really good mileage out of an electric vehicle, you have to have something called a low coefficient of drag, and that is the scientific name for how a vehicle cuts through the air. VW got a 0.23. A regular Prius is a 0.27, which is higher. So this has a better coefficient of drag, which means it cuts through the air much better. This actually has a very low hood, a very raked windshield. And if you get down here, you can see there isn't a regular grille because it's an electric vehicle. It does, by the way, have a really cool VW lighting system, which lets you know that this is part of the ID family. The air does come into the front of the vehicle down here at this lower air intake. And that's because it needs some of that cooling to actually keep the battery cool. But they have something called radiator blinds down here, and those radiator blinds will close off and stop the air coming in if it doesn't need to be cooled at all. It also has some very cool wheels, which are of course aerodynamic. The mirrors are aerodynamic, and it has a rear air diffuser underneath the rear bumper. Now, on the inside of this vehicle is where it really shines, and this is what VW have done to make it very cool. First of all, you can't help but miss this huge 15-inch multimedia display. This is their infotainment display, and there are some new things about this. First of all, it has a completely new layout for VW, and the HVAC controls on the bottom here are backlit and always lit, which means that you can always get to your HVAC controls when you need them. In front of the driver, where you'd normally see a large gauge cluster, that's gone now. There is still a gauge cluster, but it's a very small thin TFT that displays only things like warnings, your speed, and the amount of battery charge that you have left. A lot of the information that you need while you're driving has moved to the heads-up display, and now that has augmented reality, which is super cool. All the information you're going to need when you're driving is going to come up on your windshield, and that does a couple of things. First of all, it allows you to keep your eyes on the road at all times, being able to see the reflection in the windshield of all the information that you need, and at the same time it also allows you all the information at a touch of a fingertip, as it were. It's right there when you need it. You're not having to search around the car to find critical information. It'll all be displayed on the windshield. The interior of this vehicle is beautifully laid out. When you come to look at the doors and the dash, it actually has LED lights. There'll be 30 different settings. It also has some beautiful lighting around the vehicle. Now, it also will get a 700-watt Harman Kardon sound system. It has 14 different speakers, and that is just akin to everything that you'd expect in a beautiful VW. You'll also get a 14-way driver adjustable seat. Now, 12 of those are electric, 2 are manual, but that's the first time that it's ever had that. And then the piece de resistance with these seats. They're actually heated and cooled seats, but they'll also have a drying aspect to them, and that means the seat can actually help dry you. And the coolest thing about these new seats is they'll also be able to sense what you need by using sensors and automatically heat, cool, or dry you if that's necessary. Now, the seats themselves will be massaging, and along with the adaptive dampening system in the car, that means that you can do long journeys in comfort. In Europe, it'll be called the electric business class. It sort of sounds like an airline, as though you'll be massaged as you take a long flight, but in this case, a long drive in the new VW ID7. The vehicle has the seal of approval from the German Campaign for Healthier Backs, and that is an organization that says this massaging seat and the ergonomics of the seat are really good for you when you have to take a long drive. You can use the words "Hey Volkswagen" or "Hey ID" to actually get the car's attention, just like you would say "Hey Alexa" or "Hey Google" on your phone or on your smart speaker at home. And that will get the vehicle to pay attention, and then you can tell it things that you actually want, like, "My hands are cold." The vehicle will actually fire up the heated steering wheel, and it also uses something that VW are putting in this car, and that's the advanced vents. Those vents can actually direct the heat wherever you want. They have a motor that uses the vents to go vertical or horizontal, two different motors, and direct the heat. And the best thing about those is you can set them with a memory button, so the driver and passenger can have the vents directed exactly where they want them. Now, it also has a really spacious amount of legroom. We all know that one of the things that I've said in the past is the Passat had walking room from the rear seat to the front seat. There was actually so much legroom in it. And this is exactly the same. It has a load of legroom, especially since it has that really long body but no engine at the front, 195 inches. That means that this vehicle has loads of space for the front and the rear seat passengers. In Germany, they're getting a Pro and Pro S versions, two versions, and they'll get two different batteries. Now, I've done the calculation in this vehicle. Just from the German Whelp cycle, you'll actually get about 340 miles in the US and about 380 on the larger battery size. It has 282 horsepower in the rear-wheel drive. Now, the last VW ID4 rear-wheel drive had 201 horsepower, so that's a huge jump by 81 horsepower in the amount of power this vehicle has. But unbelievably, it has 402 pounds-feet of torque. That is a huge amount of torque in this vehicle, and you'll really feel that, hopefully, when you put your foot down on the highway. There's going to be 4 different driving modes. Those are going to be Eco, Comfort, Sport, and then an individual mode that you'll be able to program with the vehicle. There's 2 different battery sizes that Europe will get, and hopefully we'll get them in the United States as well. 77 kilowatt hours for the smaller battery and 86 kilowatt hours for the larger battery. So you can get a choice of the sort of battery size that you want. And that electric motor at the back here is all new for VW. One of the coolest features that I've never seen in a family vehicle is electrochromic tinting, and that's the name of the roof. It's an electrochromic tinted roof, and you can change the roof from being see-through to being opaque by the swipe of a finger. Instead of a blind, you actually can swipe it and it goes cloudy, or swipe it the other way and the clouds disappear and you actually get to see the sunshine. And that is a very, very cool feature that comes on the new ID.7.
I'm Nick Miles.